Hello Internet. So for my inaugural video, I thought that I would talk about a subject that I find near and dear to my heart. That issue being free speech. Now, when it comes to my personal politics, I'm all over the board, to be quite honest. So for instance, I find the arguments for bank regulation to be incredibly compelling, while on the other hand, I have recently found myself in a position where I am quite sympathetic to gun rights, to be quite honest. I don't find all of their arguments to be compelling, and I do think there should be some regulation, but I also do understand the necessity for the population, and of course criminals not included, to be armed if they so choose. Now, this being all said, I think that the fundamentals of how I got to these positions is ultimately really, really important. I find that I could be wrong on any number of political issues that I hold, but I think it's really important that I looked at the evidence and I listened to the arguments, and from there I ended up getting to the positions that I hold currently. Now, there could be evidence that ends up coming about that changes my mind on these issues. I completely understand the fact that I could be wrong on all the positions that I hold, but I don't think that I am. But again, if one of you folks ends up sending me something in the comments that is something I haven't considered, I'll have to reevaluate my positions. Now, I wouldn't be able to get to any of my positions that I hold today if the free speech of these people who put out these arguments online was infringed. I consider the Enlightenment values that got us to the society we have today to be incredibly important. So there's something really, really pernicious and really, really sort of dangerous that I've seen in the left wing of the United States that has really, really made me very, it's made me really concerned, to be quite honest. Now, sort of, as I mentioned earlier, I don't completely agree with the left wing on all the issues, on things like gun rights and whatnot, but I ultimately find a lot of their points to be quite persuasive, and in that sense, I do fall somewhere more on the left wing, yet libertarian sort of spectrum. But, I mean, to be quite honest, I've seen online people who are quite happy whenever Donald Trump's rallies end up getting, whenever they end up being shut down because of like threats of violence. And I understand that there's problems on both sides of this, but honestly, that's not something to celebrate. I mean, the way that we reach the best ideas is whenever everyone is allowed to articulate what they think, and then that ends up going through the scrutiny of other people saying, well, no, I have this fact, or no, I have this fact, and whatnot. And hopefully the end result is everyone comes out of that conversation learning something new, and ultimately the people who are intellectually honest will reevaluate their positions and change them. But honestly, it doesn't make sense to me that there are people who celebrate the silencing of other people. I mean, I'm currently going to college in the United States, and what I find is there is this very anti-free speech movement that is gaining ground with some of the students, and to be quite honest, that's really alarming. So for instance, you take something like currently Milo Yiannopoulos, a character that I quite disagree on quite a few issues. He's going around on his dangerous faggot tour, and I disagree with this guy on a lot of things, economics most importantly to me, but you know what? If that guy comes to my university, anyone who tries to deplatform him is doing themselves a disservice. And here's what I mean. If this guy has positions that you disagree with, you listen to what he has to say, because he might say something that you don't currently know. And if he has the facts on his side, and then ultimately you'll change your position. But it seems to me that people are afraid of being challenged, and as such, they don't want to hear what these people have to say. Look, to be honest, if what you believe is true, you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever being scrutinized, because at the end of the day you say, look, I have the facts here, you're wrong. But yelling and screaming and trying to shut this guy up while he's trying to give a speak, while he's trying to speak at a college, honestly, that's quite ridiculous. The only way that civil discourse works is when it remains civil. And whenever you have people trying to silence others, that's honestly quite alarming. I think it'd be really, really good if we sort of thought about this in a little thought experiment. So, let's say that there is someone that you agree with, you've been following for many years, and you invite them to your college campus to speak for the purpose of garnering issue around his support. I mean, it could be any number of things. LGBTQ issues, environmentalism, etc., etc. So let's say that you invite this speaker to speak at your college, and then they end up getting deplatformed because they challenge the orthodoxy, and you have students who vehemently disagree with them. So they've been disinvited to speak. If it's someone you agree with, more likely than not, you are going to take great alarm to this and maybe even make claims of oppression. And you know what? You'd probably be right. I mean, ultimately what the university has done is robbed a very important learning experience for whatever reason, whether you agree with the issue or not, because they are given, you are giving the students an instance upon which they have their beliefs challenged, which ultimately is important, whether the beliefs being challenged are what you consider to be legitimate or not. So if you aren't upset whenever someone like Milo Yiannopoulos ends up getting deplatformed, but you would be if it had been someone you agreed with, you're a hypocrite, and to be honest, you need to change your position. I'm a firm believer that the best and brightest ideas will end up carrying the day, but that is only true insofar as free and civil discourse is upheld and protected. And because of that, I am a staunch supporter of people's free speech rights.